All right, thank you. Let me follow on what Ricard was starting. So he wants to sell auxiliaries. So I also want to sell you an auxiliary. I sell you the fast track to my presentation because the major theme will be, this is an industry transformation and we have to do it together. So this is what you should remember when leaving the presentation afterwards, or even the presentation right now, having a coffee. This is a fast track to my presentation. So I think we should start looking a little bit back before we can start looking into the future. So what we need to keep in mind is that we as airlines, we have basically invented e-commerce long before the internet, long before the Amazons of the world came up. The airlines had found a very smart approach to sell their products into the entire world without having an internet connection everywhere in the world. And this was super smart. Downside, though, is we are still using exactly the same technology today. So customer-facing, it looks a little bit more digital. So we have this nice apps that we have barcodes that we present to our customers, and it kind of looked digital and kind of e-commerce-like, but it's just mimicking what is underneath, because underneath, it's more or less the 1960s technology that we have in place. And this is important to explain to everyone. It was also important for us on Lufthansa Group side to explain this to our top management, because top management is normally not taking care of their bookings, for example, so they don't know how this all is looking. And said, we are digital, right? So we have a mobile app, we have a website, we are selling a lot of stuff via NDC, so we are digital, right? And to explain that basically underneath we still have this green screen 1960s technology. Took quite a while for us to convince the management that this is the burden that we have. And they realized, I would say about 2 years ago, that this is what we need to change. And we are changing this not so much because we see the competition inside the airline industry, but we rather see the competition outside of the industry. Because we have digital giants out there that provide exactly these services that my customers want to have. I really like the example from Ricard. Amazon never stole a second of his life. This is what our customers are used to and getting more and more used to. And then they hit the travel industry, especially the airlines, and they have completely different experience. So summing it up, we are not so much competing inside the industry, but it's much, much more about competing with the digital players out there to ensure that we stay relevant as airlines for our customers. So this is where we are coming from, and we realized we need to change this setup now. So we do not want to be subjected to change from others, but we need to change it now. And when we started this endeavor, we were coming really out of COVID crisis. And when we presented it the first time to our CFO, you can imagine what his reaction was. He was, are you crazy? We're coming from a near-death experience, and now you want to start probably one of the biggest digitalization journeys that we have ever done. This is crazy. This is insane. Why should we do this? And we took back a step and looked to what is the reason, what is the argument that we can bring also internally to our top management. And we said, look, the very first thing that we have to do is put our customer first, because we took the last 2.5 years during COVID crisis, even more than before already, to show that our systems are outdated. Because of all the rebookings, all the stuff, we lost tickets. Customers were calling our call centers because we were waiving tickets, and they called us after 1.5 years and wanted to rebook according to our rules. And the customer center said, sorry, I can't find the ticket. We said, it has to be there. And it took us quite a while to realize why we lost those tickets, because it is hard-coded in the system that they only stored for 1 year, and after 1 year, throwing out of the system. We couldn't change it. It took a big CR to change this one. So we need to put the customer first in whatever we are doing. So this was the very first starting point to explain what we are doing. And then we soon realized we have done a lot of good mimicking work. We have brilliant people in Lufthansa Group, but also in the industry. So a lot of things that we have done on IATA side, with the development of NDC, for example, was mimicking e-commerce processes on top of legacy systems and processes. And therefore, we realized we need to stop this one. We need to build a completely new technology stack. Not putting something on top of what is already existing, but really build a completely new technology stack. Because this eventually brings us really to the point that we can drive innovation, that we have really the freedom to build completely new processes according to the needs of our customers. And this is really the story that we told to our management at some point then got their confidence that this is the right thing that we have to do. So basically the question is, what are we doing? On the left-hand side, you see what we have in place today. This is a very monolithic architecture built quite a while ago, and you have the so-called passenger service system, the PSS, as a spider in the web. It's sitting everywhere. And wherever you want to do a small change somewhere in your system, like changing something in your front end, in your NDC channel, for example, you always have to consider what is happening in this big monolithic system underneath, what is happening in my PSS, and probably a lot of changes are required over there. And this is what we want to change. We need to get into a really modular setup where you have no sharing of logic in all the components. All the components need to be truly standalone, and this is where we want to go. Because this will drive innovation. This will give me the flexibility to really drive innovation in each and every of the component. So once we reach this level, I can easily replace my offer engine with a new one. If there's new technology coming up, if AI is coming up, cool, I can implement it without always considering the end-to-end stack. And this is exactly where we want to go. This is the heart and a centerpiece of what we are doing, showing also that we are not building something on top, or we are not wrapping something around of what is existing, but we are building a completely new technology stack end to end. So it's also not only one component of it. It's not only like the order management piece out of the PSS or only the offer piece. It's the full stack. It's the end-to-end perspective with all the components that we have to change, starting from the touch points. We have the .coms today, we have the apps, we have our NDC pipe. There might be other channels coming up in the future that we don't know today, and we want to enable those channels. So we want to have a robust architecture that supports the development also of new channels without then always having to go to the entire technology stack like we have to do today. And then we have offer engine, quite obviously, to get more fancy offers, all the dynamic offer creation content, more auxiliaries that need to be catered for. And this goes until the very, very last step, which is very boring down there in the engine room where no sunshine is, when you have to do accounting. Also, accounting will change in the future because, again, here we have processes in place that are completely driven by paper-based logic that is coming from the 1960s. And therefore, we are considering the end-to-end stack to change here. And if we have to change this end-to-end internally with our technology stack and with all the components, quite easily you can imagine that this is not a thing that you can do as an airline alone, but you have to do it together with partners. And this is the main theme of what I want to present to you today. It's an ecosystem change. Each and everyone working in the travel value chain will have an impact by this change, by this move to 100% offers and orders. By replacing PNRs, tickets, EMDs, getting rid of those legacy processes, this will have an impact for everyone in the value chain. And this is exactly what we are driving for. So we, as Lufthansa Group, we have some critical size, but even with our size, we are not able to drive it our own. So we are looking for partners on various layers. So we are looking into partnerships with other airlines. We have founded the consortium on IATA together with 11 other airlines throughout the world to drive this, to have more pace on this development. So we are partnering up with a lot of airlines that we have. But we're also partnering up with other partners. We have the tech vendors that are very critical to drive this transformation. We are partnering a lot on different layers with them. But this is not the end of the journey, because airports need to be involved, ground handlers need to be involved. If the processes, how we fulfill orders today are changing, all of those partners need to be involved in this transformation. And then really realizing customer centricity at some point, because there is a check-in today, not because the customer wants to have check-in, not because the customer gives us €1 or $1 to have a check-in process, but because we as airlines believe we need to have the check-in process. And by doing this ecosystem transformation together, we can question those things. We can question whether there's value behind a particular process, and if there's no value behind, let's change it. And this is what we want to do together with all our partners in the value chain to drive this together with all the components to go forward and really make customer centricity a real thing. Not a buzzword, but really make it a real thing and put the customer need into the centerpiece of what we are doing with this transformation. And indeed, we as Lufthansa Group are committed to this one. We have a long-term commitment to move this forward and have these partnerships on various levels. So if there's one thing that you want to remember from this presentation is indeed, we are willing in going to partnerships. So either take it back, think about what is the impact of the transition to offers and orders for your organization. Think about this and think about whether you are impacted and how you're impacted and whether you want to partner up, driving things together. So look into the partners you are around and think about partnerships. And also, if you're interested in driving this together with us, also reach out to us. This is really the most important thing and will take us quite a while to move this forward. And therefore, we want to drive this in the entire ecosystem. However, talking about ecosystem, let's have another look back into what we are actually doing on Lufthansa Group side. So what we have done 2 years ago, coming from our near-death experience, convincing our CFO to open up his pocket, not buying additional aircraft, but giving some money for a digitalization program. So we founded a dedicated program on Lufthansa Group side to drive forward this transformation end to end. Not only offer order, but everything which is related to this end-to-end flow, change all the modules from the very first touch point to the customer to the very last step of accounting. This is what we want to change, and we're establishing a program for this. This is quite obviously a multi-year program. It will take us quite a while to get there. We want to reach the industry target of 2030 as the whole industry. This is the ambition that we have in the industry. But we as Lufthansa Group, we are convinced and committed to surpass this target. We want to be 100% offer and order by 28. So this is our clear ambition. And when I'm saying Lufthansa Group, this basically means all the airlines that we have in our portfolio. Currently, we have 8 airline brands in our portfolio. Probably there are some more brands in the future that join our portfolio. And this program is indeed targeted for all the airlines that we have in our brand portfolio. And this is quite crucial because we believe there's a huge benefit not having separate systems for the separate airlines that we have in our portfolio, but when it comes to the core components like order management, for example, going with one harmonized solution among all the carriers that we have in our group. This basically then means we have not only a lot of airline brands, by the way, airline brands coming along with different airline business models. So we have the classical full-service carrier business model, Lufthansa, Austrian, Swiss, Brussels. But we have also touristic carriers in our group. We have Eurowings Discover, we have Edelweiss, and we also have low-cost carriers in our portfolio with Eurowings. And they have completely different needs. That's why they also have kind of different IT applications today. They have a different mindset. And that's what we need to cater for. It's kind of a complexity that we have to deal with. But this shows that we have to do it in a truly cross-functional approach, not only outside Lufthansa Group, but also inside. And this is why we, from the very beginning, established a program which was co-led by business entity, not the classic approach by saying business defines some crazy idea and throws it over the fence and let IT then try to solve it. But we decided to build it from the very first day, build it together. It's co-led by business and IT. And cross-functionality is in the centerpiece of this program. So we have, for all those components that I've showed before, 8 of them, we have functional streams being involved in the program and driving the transformation for all of their distinct modules within the full architecture stack. So this is truly cross-functional, and you can imagine this is not easy, having various interests, various needs, because the need of our NDC colleagues for the front end are completely different from the needs that our delivery people, or what today we still call departure control system, what these DCS colleagues have. And the task is to align them on the shared vision that this offer and order technology stack, a completely new stack, is the basis for whatever we want to do in the future. So cross-functionality is the centerpiece of our program, and coming back to my major theme of industry engagement, of working together in the industry, also there, we need to ensure that we follow this idea, this philosophy of cross-functionality. So it's not only airlines, with their core IT vendors, but it's also the airlines together with the airports, with the rail providers to ensure intermodal. It's the collaboration between selling platforms. So all those partners need to be involved, and that's what we are driving together with IATA right now, driving this forward to ensure that we have the right engagement with all the partners. Also, by the way, as one of the learnings that we had from NDC. So there were a lot of smart people driving NDC as early as 2012, thinking about how we can build this forward. But it took quite a while to engage with the industry. And this was one of the learnings that we want to do differently right now, engage with the industry, with all the partners in the value chain early on. So cross-functionality is really the centerpiece of what we are doing. As said, there is a consortium of 12 airlines, and the idea behind the consortium was to accelerate the development of this journey, because we know, for good reasons, defining industry standards means you need to have consensus. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate all the airlines working together at IATA, working in the work groups, defining industry standards. The downside, though, is it takes every here and there takes a while, and we wanted to accelerate the development of this movement to 100% off and order, and therefore we founded this consortium to do exactly this: accelerate the development, get results quicker to the market, increase the adoption rates, especially in contrast to what we have seen with NDC. And this is exactly what we are doing at Lufthansa Group, being very committed to this target, being very committed to partnerships inside Lufthansa Group with our various airlines, our various departments from all the areas end-to-end that are involved, but also engaging with all the partners outside the industry, outside the airline core focus. So we are talking a lot of partners right now, and we are very, very happy to continue those talks also with you guys. So basically, what we see here is it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So doing this transformation is really something, this will not happen like in the next 5 years again. This is really some very big thing. If you really conclude that we are not building something on top or wrapping something around what we have already, but we are building a completely new technology stack with new processes around, this is indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We are very excited about this. I hope you guys also have thought about it already, because we believe we have to do it together, so let's do it together. So this is my main theme, and I really would invite everyone who wants just to remember one thing: let's do it together. Think about what is going on in your organization, check with your partners or check with us how we can drive this transformation together. Thanks a lot.